When it comes to JRPGs, bosses come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes you'll just be fighting a human being, while other times you may end up going toe-to-toe with some sort of Lovecraftian nightmare creature. Now, I've been playing these games for a very long time, and I've faced all kinds of bosses. Some fights made me feel sad and upset. Some of them scared me, and some made me feel a certain special way. But the boss I want to talk about today is a bit different from the rest of them. I distinctly remember how I felt the first time I saw it, because it made me feel completely and utterly confused. I couldn't even understand what I was looking at. What is this? A marble? A beach ball? Little did I know that not only is this thing the most powerful boss of this game, it is also one of the most mysterious secret bosses in Final Fantasy history. There is a mystery surrounding its very existence. Where did it come from? Why does it look like this? The more I looked into it, the more I realized that this rabbit hole goes very deep. So what is the story behind the ultimate secret boss of Final Fantasy IX? Well, that's what we are here to find out. Challenging OZMA isn't going to be easy. A lot of work has to be done beforehand. Specifically, there is a side quest which we need to do before it's even possible to get to it. The earliest it can be done is in Chapter 3, after the party gains access to the Hildegard 3 airship. Once you have the airship, you will then need to complete a substantial chunk of the Chocobo Hot and Cold side quest. You'll need a Chocobo for this, obviously, but you can get one pretty easily in this game. Now, this is the kind of side quest that some might find annoying, while others may find it very annoying. I'm not gonna go into details here, but as you keep playing, your Chocobo will eventually learn new abilities. In order to continue with our main objective though, we need our Choco friend to learn how to fly. Now, we need to find a circular, slow-moving shadow in the overworld. It can appear in 1 out of 5 possible locations, and it is random, so you'll have to go and check all the locations to see where it is. There are hints in the game regarding the locations, but you can just visit the specific places without them. Once you find the shadow, float over it and feed a dead pepper to your Choco friend. It will freak out and take you to the Chocobo Air Garden. Beautiful, right? If we were to go over to this weird rock formation and check it out, we'll find an Eidolon cave. For those who don't know, Eidolons in this game are, for gameplay purposes, summons from other Final Fantasy games. We'll talk about them more later. Anyway, if we try to examine it, a Moogle friend of ours will show up and say, "I feel strange presence inside, Kupo. I've never felt anything like it, Kupo. It's not of this world, but not like a ghost either. It feels otherworldly, Kupo." That was, basically, the game telling you to get the hell out of here, because something dangerous is inside that cave. Within this cave, OZMA is waiting. Now, if you wanted to, you could take on OZMA right away. You would probably get destroyed very quickly, but it is something you could do if you felt like it. The thing is, the game doesn't actually want you to fight it as soon as possible. It wants you to do a bit more work first, to make your life easier. In addition, while the Hot and Cold side quest was the only actual requirement we had to fulfill, there is one more side quest which is related to OZMA, which the game never outright tells you about, but completing it beforehand makes OZMA a bit more bearable. It is a very strange quest, to be honest, but then again, OZMA is a very strange thing, so it kinda makes sense in that regard. While you're out there exploring the world, you can, randomly, run into some very cute and friendly monsters. You'll know when you find one of them, because the battle soundtrack itself will change to a different, almost sad theme. I don't know, something about it makes me feel depressed for some reason. Anyway, these friendly monsters will ask you for something, and if you give it to them, they will ask you to say hi to a different friendly monster. Then they'll just leave. According to official materials, these friendly monsters are essentially spirits of Gaia, beings tied directly to the planet itself. There are a total of 9 of these spirits, and you need to meet and satisfy all of them by giving them what they ask for. Yes, you will have to give them anything they want from you. In return, they give you a bunch of AP along with an item. The order in which I have them all listed is the order in which you would expect to run into them during the main quest, but they do not have to be met in this order. If you decide to take on this quest after getting the airship, you can meet the first 8 in any order you want. The 9th one has to be met last though. But assuming you do want to meet them in order, then you'll first have to find Moo. He'll ask for one ore. When you throw the ore at it, it'll say, "Tell Mr. Ghost I said hi." Mr. Ghost will also ask for one ore, and then ask you to give his best regards to Ladybug. Ladybug won't be satisfied with just one ore though. Yet he looks like something I've seen in one of my nightmares. Next up is Nymph, who knows exactly what she is worth. But in return, she'll give us an emerald. That is very nice, because the next friendly monster on the list, the Jabberwock, will ask for an emerald. So the last bunch of these friends will each give you the exact item that the next one will be looking for. Very cute. After Jabberwock, we have to find Feather Circle, which is certainly one of the names of all time. It'll ask for the Moonstone, which we got from Jabberwock, and it'll give us the Lapis Lazuli, which I legitimately had to look up because I wasn't sure it was an actual thing. Garuda is the 8th friend, and after we give it the Lapis Lazuli, it will freak the hell out. Afterwards, we'll get a diamond. Since all of them have been taken care of, we can now go and meet the friendly Yan, who will ask for the diamond we got from Garuda. And after receiving it, the Yan will say, "Thanks a lot, now you can reach the round guy." Round guy? I think we all have an idea who it might be referring to. So what was the purpose behind this quest, you may be wondering? What did the Yan mean by "now you can reach the round guy"? See, if you were to take on OZMA before completing this quest, you wouldn't be able to reach it with the normal physical attacks. Also, OZMA will absorb shadow elemental attacks. That can potentially be an important factor in the battle, because OZMA has an attack called Doomsday, which hits everything on the field, including itself. Doomsday is a shadow elemental attack, so normally it will actually heal OZMA while damaging the party. But if you have completed the quest before fighting OZMA, not only will your normal attacks be able to reach it, OZMA will be hurt by the shadow element instead of being able to absorb it. Essentially, completing the quest makes OZMA easier. But why is that happening though? It's kinda strange, right? In any case, it's time to talk about the battle itself, I suppose. I won't go into super specific details with a turn-by-turn setup for this. There are plenty of OZMA guides online that you can look up if you need specific guidance, but I'll go over the general stuff that everyone should know. The reason OZMA is considered to be so strong isn't because it has massive stats or anything like that. In terms of HP, it only has 55,535. I mean, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but when you consider that hitting for 9,999 damage isn't all that difficult to do in this game with certain moves, you could put down OZMA in like 6 attacks if they all hit for that much damage. But things aren't that simple. There is a lot going on inside that ball. First, we have to keep in mind that OZMA's turns work a bit differently compared to ours. If any of your characters input any commands while it's doing nothing, OZMA immediately gets a bonus turn. If you were unaware of this, you'd think it was stupidly fast or something. But no, its ATB gauge goes to max instantly. The only way around it is to input commands for all of your characters while OZMA is in the middle of doing something. Next, let's take a quick look at what moves it can use. Yeah, that's a lot of moves. It's worth keeping in mind that OZMA will avoid wasting its turns if it possibly can. For example, level 5 death only affects party members whose levels are a multiple of 5. OZMA will only use it if a party member is susceptible to it. If that's not the case, OZMA will pick something else. You can also think of it this way. If OZMA can't use a certain move because the party won't be negatively affected by it, then that increases the chances of OZMA using a different move. And out of all the nasty attacks that OZMA does have access to, the most devastating one is Meteor. This attack not only looks very epic, but it can also just one-shot your entire party by dealing 9,999 damage to all of them, leading to a very swift game over. Ideally, you never want to see this move at all. OZMA can also counterattack with moves like Berserk or Curaga. Berserk forces the afflicted character to only use the attack command. If one of your characters gets berserked and you didn't do the side quest from earlier, then they'll do basically nothing. Unless you cure them, of course. As for Curaga, I am sure everyone knows what that is. It'll heal the round guy for a lot of HP, setting you further back from your goal. Alright, so let's talk about how to beat this guy. Well, to be fair, you don't have to follow a very strict path to victory. A bunch of different characters are viable, and you don't need to have them at level 99 to be competitive. In terms of equipment, having gear that can absorb shadow, and perhaps even holy, will definitely help. On a side note, as long as even one of your characters has a level divisible by 5 or 4, then that could make OZMA use level 5 Death or level 4 Holy, which would only really hurt that one character. Your equipped abilities can be super important here. OZMA can cause some nasty status effects with Curse, like Confusion. That one, in particular, can ruin your day, so having clear-headed on everyone is a very good idea. There are a bunch of generally great options, like Auto Haste and Auto Regen, that everyone should have. Beyond that, you'll want to make sure that you have some solid damage-dealing moves. For example, Freya can use Dragon Crest, which is an attack that deals a fixed amount of damage and bypasses defenses entirely. The damage itself is dependent on the number of dragons you've killed during your journey. After killing 100 dragons, Dragon Crest will always do max damage. That is a very easy requirement to meet, I would say. Some might find this to be kinda boring, or even unethical, but if you have a natural hatred for dragons, you'd have much more fun doing it. Shock is also a fantastic option. It's Steiner's most damaging move, and can easily hit anything, including OZMA, for max damage. Between those two characters, you'll have plenty of damage output. Having a dedicated healer alongside them can be the key to a very solid foundation for this fight. But like I said, the other characters can be viable too, if you build things around them. Quina could become one of your main attackers with Frog Drop, if you really want Quina to be in your party. Sure, you'll have to get Quina to a very high level, and you would have to catch a lot of frogs, but maybe you're into that. In my opinion, OZMA is most dangerous when you don't know what it can do. The knowledge of what it's capable of is half the battle. Once you do know how things work, you can mitigate certain problems and preemptively protect yourself against others. Sure, Meteor can still destroy you, but you can just reset and try again. If you get lucky with the moves OZMA uses, you could end the battle very quickly. This is not necessarily a test of endurance. Knowledge and preparation will be everything here. And after you deal enough damage, you will witness a beautiful cosmic explosion as OZMA shatters into a million pieces. Well done. You've beaten the toughest challenge of Final Fantasy IX. You get a ton of XP and AP for winning, but far more importantly, you get a Pumice as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. After you win, the Moogle there will be very impressed by your actions and will give you a strategy guide as a reward. Nifty. Well, we've beaten OZMA, but I don't think we've learned anything substantial about what it is and where it came from. I think it's time for us to try and do just that. As far as I know, there is no official lore regarding OZMA. There's no guide that straight up gives us the answers to the questions we have. But besides what we already know, there are a few more clues hidden within the game, which can help us form some theories at the very least. Late in the game, around Disc 4, you have to go to Medain's Sari. You know, the place where the Summoner tribe used to live. Make sure that you have Dagger in the party. Here, you can see that there's an NPC in the corner. If we try to get close to them, they will jump or fly away. Now, you have to get out of town. Go back to the airship and swap Dagger and Amaranth out of the party. Go back to where that NPC blasted off into the sky, and they'll be there again. And they won't disappear this time. It's Lani, the bounty hunter. Lani was a minor antagonist earlier in the game. She has become a whole new person though, and lives here with the Moogles now. She will go on to say, "You know, I saw some words that might mean something in the small room over there." If you enter the nearby room, there will be an exclamation mark that you can interact with. These are the words you'll find. Time moves forward once. Time moves backward once. 9 is the last number. It is also the first. These cryptic words are actually the key to a puzzle. We now need to go to the Eidolon wall. What we need to do here is walk clockwise from the entrance by heading to the right. Eventually, you'll arrive back at the entrance and hear a chime. It's barely audible, but it is there. After you hear it, walk counterclockwise until you get to the entrance again and hear another chime. On the 9th round, you'll know you've done it right if you get the message that your HP and MP have been restored. We can now check the walls for some messages that have been left behind by the Summoner tribe. There are a few here that are relevant to Dagger, also known as Garnet. Like we can find out what happened to Dagger's daddy, and also her real name. But more importantly, there is some valuable information here regarding Eidolons. The Summoner tribe studied Eidolons and the nature of their existence. Some of these writings represent the collected knowledge and theories of the Summoners regarding the nature of Eidolons, as well as their potential origins. They were wiped out by a being called Garland, who felt threatened by the powers of Eidolons. Dagger, or Sarah, which is her actual birth-given name, is one of the survivors of this tribe, which is why she has access to summon magic. On that note, Eiko is the last person who was born into the tribe. Everyone else is gone. Anyway, let's check what the wall says. The Legends of Eidolons. We discovered Eidolons by researching legends documented from around the world. The thunder god, Ramu, is one of those legends. Some theorize that Eidolons were created from legends and not the other way around. Now, this is very interesting. So they're basically saying that it is possible that the Eidolons did not come first, that the myths and stories about them came first and actually brought them to life. But that seems absurd, doesn't it? How in the world can that possibly be true? In order to really understand what's going on here, we kinda have to look a bit deeper into how the cycle of life and death works in this world. A lot of that becomes clear as we play through the game, especially as we get close to the end. I'll try to summarize things as best I can. Each planet has a crystal, which controls the cycle of souls of all living beings on that planet. Whenever a person dies, their soul returns to the crystal, bringing with it all the experiences and memories of that person. Then, the crystal creates new life for the soul. So basically, living things die, their souls return to the crystal, and then the crystal creates new life. As the cycle goes on and on, the crystal becomes stronger, capable of producing more complex life forms. Now, keep in mind that a planet's crystal is not a sentient, conscious being. It is there to follow a simple directive: continue the cycle of souls, which is to say, the cycle of life and death. In order to keep that cycle going, it might need to protect itself every now and then. And to do that, it creates life that is meant to be its protectors. These protectors are called Eidolons. You know, Ifrit, Shiva, Bahamut, they're all Eidolons. But how does the crystal create them? Well, it uses the memories of all the souls who are a part of the cycle as inspiration. When a person dies, their memories and experiences don't disappear. It all continues to exist. In Memoria, the final dungeon that we go through in Final Fantasy IX, we see this directly. Within Memoria, the memories of Gaia are stored. Gaia, in case you don't know, is the primary planet that the game takes place on. First, we see the destruction of Alexandria, with the awakening of the terrifying Eidolon, Alexander. Then we see how Zidane is able to see one of Dagger's memories, even though he wasn't there to witness the event in the first place. Then we see the whole party witnessing memories that don't belong to any of them. In fact, none of them even existed when these memories were created. Within Memoria, we are guided by Garland's voice. Garland was the main overarching antagonist for the majority of the game, who was pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Zidane, confused by what he has seen in Memoria, asks, "Why can I remember other people's experiences and events that happened before my time?" Garland replies, "Do not limit memory to just one individual's experiences from birth. That is only the surface. Every life born into this world, whether natural or artificial, requires a parent. And that parent also requires a parent. Life is connected one to another. If you trace the root of all life, there exists only one source. The same can be said for memory. All life constitutes an intelligence that holds memory beyond experience. Memory is not isolated within individuals. It is an accumulation of generations of memories that continues to evolve. You can say that memory and evolution go hand in hand, but most life forms do not understand the true nature of memories, which explains why most memories never cross paths. Basically, all memories collectively continue to exist and become the inspiration for more complex life forms when required by the crystal. Most living beings are simply unable to access the memories of previous lives. Their memory, unfortunately, is limited to their own experiences. The Eidolon wall also tries to tell you something regarding this. Breathe slowly and calm your mind. Let memories return to you. Anyway, where do all these memories exist then? Well, at the source of all life, within the crystal. Now, I know it feels like we've gotten off track, but stay with me for a moment. Understanding the cycle of souls and how the memories continue to exist beyond death was kinda necessary for the next part. Now, imagine this scenario. There's a man who is passing through a forest. It's winter, so it's pretty cold because of all the snow everywhere. Let's say it's also nighttime. During the journey, he accidentally consumes the wrong kind of mushrooms. You know, the kind that can make a person hallucinate. During a vivid hallucination, the man sees a beautiful fairy goddess with pale blue, almost light purple skin and sky blue hair. Maybe he saw an actual woman by the lake, shivering in the cold, and the hallucination turned that image into something else entirely. Or maybe his mind just made it all up. It's not important, really. What is important, though, is that he believes that what he saw was real. When he gets home, he tells everyone what he saw. Maybe even adding a few details like she had magical ice powers or something. Bad trips can create some funky memories after all. Let's say some people believe him. Later, these people tell others about what happened. Maybe they'll be the ones who add on the part about magical ice powers. When stories like this get passed around, details often get added on or muddied along the way. And so, the story spreads and reaches more and more people over time. Some parents might use it as a cautionary tale to keep kids from going into that forest late at night, especially during winter time. As time passes and people travel to other places, the tale spreads further and further, and from one generation to another, their imaginations painting a picture of what this ice goddess probably looked like. That one experience turned into a story, which went on to become a myth or legend that many people believed in. In essence, it became a part of the memories of many people. Now, when these people die, they'll return to the crystal with their memories containing information regarding this mythical ice goddess. What will the crystal do when it sees all these memories? The crystal will try to bring this ice goddess to life in the form of an eidolon. Because people believed it existed, the crystal will bring it into existence. This is what the wall was trying to say regarding eidolons being created from the legends and not the other way around. You can change that story to be about anything, really. Maybe somebody was just lying about seeing something mystical. We all know people who tell tall tales for attention, right? But in this world, if enough people believed in something, regardless of the origin of the story that shaped their memories, the crystal could use their memories to bring it to life. But there is a bit more to all this. Let's take a look at what the wall says next. The first eidolon discovered, Shiva. Shiva took the form of a young girl when she was first discovered. She now appears as a grown woman. Eidolons adapt their forms to the time and culture in which they appear. Shiva illustrates this theory. So what the diddly does that mean? It means that the form of eidolons are not set in stone. As myths and legends change or evolve over time, so do the forms of the eidolons. We have many examples of something like this happening in our own world. For example, the original artistic depictions of angels used to look a lot more disturbing and terrifying. As time went on though, they changed into beautiful human-like figures. These days, if you ask a random person what they believe angels look like, they'll probably describe a beautiful human with wings. Heck, if you Google image of angels, you'll mostly find images of beautiful human figures. The old interpretations of angels fell out of fashion over time, one could say. Back to the game. This does make me wonder, is it that the crystal simply prefers more recent memories when it comes to the form an eidolon should take? Or is it, perhaps, that new memories are necessary for an eidolon's form to be maintained? Let me ask you a question. What would happen if everyone who knew about a specific eidolon passed away without leaving any information behind about the eidolon? Let's say that the entire civilization that knew of this eidolon was wiped out somehow. Or maybe the myths and stories about them were simply forgotten over time for any number of reasons. At the end of the day, the point is that there will be no new memories to reinforce the story and image of that eidolon. So assuming new memories are necessary to maintain and evolve an eidolon's form, what happens now? Would the Eidolon just become formless? That is actually the most popular theory about OZMA, that it is an Eidolon that has lost its original form. Why? Well, the game does not give us any direct answers about that, but we do get a few hints. Where do we find OZMA? In the Eidolon cave. Now, why would it be there specifically? Unless it was an Eidolon who was, perhaps, sealed away in the cave, unable to escape until we intervened. We have seen other examples of Eidolons who were sealed away. Alexander's gem was broken up into 4 pieces to ensure it couldn't be summoned again, because the first time it was summoned, it caused a massive disaster, as the summoner tribe was unable to control it, causing them to leave Alexandria, their original home, and move to Madain Sari. The wall actually does mention this event. Leviathan was also sealed away, likely because it, too, couldn't be controlled when it was summoned. If OZMA was sealed away in that cave somehow, and the stories about it were forgotten over time, then is it not possible that OZMA simply lost its shape over time, with no new memories to reinforce it? Its strength remained, but not the form. Now, let's go back and see what our Mughal friends said as we tried to check out the cave. It's not of this world, but not like a ghost either. It feels otherworldly. What if the game is trying to be literal about that? What if OZMA is literally not from this world? Because during the course of Final Fantasy IX, we do learn about another planet, one whose civilization was, essentially, eradicated thousands of years ago. I am referring to Terra. Terra is one of the key parts of the overall narrative in Final Fantasy IX. Terra used to be a thriving planet. Its people had built a civilization of extraordinary technological advancement. But there was a problem. Terra's crystal, the one responsible for the cycle of life and death, was itself dying. Attempts were made to try and stop that from happening. Drastic steps were taken, but it wasn't enough. As a last resort, they created Garland, a sort of android, whose purpose was to bring the people of Terra back. They gave up their physical bodies willingly, and their souls were kept in stasis in Pandemonium, until Garland could figure out a way to bring them back. Since Terra's crystal was dying, Garland tried to fuse Terra with Gaia, which, again, is the planet the game takes place on. The fusion failed, resulting in cataclysmic destruction on Gaia's surface, while Terra's physical body was warped and embedded within Gaia, effectively becoming an inner planet. In addition, several locations and structures from Terra, such as Ibsen's castle and Oivir, ended up physically present on Gaia. Oivir specifically is very intriguing. In there, we find information left behind by the people of Terra. There is a chamber in here with talking masks, which provide a brief summary of the events that led to their demise. Deeper inside Oivir, we find the Gulag Stone, which is what we came here for in the first place. As soon as we try to examine it, we are attacked by an entity called Ark. It's a battleship that is acting like a self-defense system and trying to protect this place, or perhaps trying to protect the Gulag Stone. After we defeat it, we get the Pumice piece. Pumice. Where have I seen that name before? Let's go back to the OZMA battle for a moment. What did we get for beating it? Oh right, we received a Pumice. And what does the Pumice do? It can teach Dagger the Eidolon summon known as Ark. Well. I think we found a pretty strong connection here between OZMA and Terra, wouldn't you say? And just to be clear, it is quite obvious that Ark is of Terran origin. Even in their archives, they do seem to be quite obsessed with battleships. And if you need some serious proof of Ark's Terran origin, then check this out. When we summon it, the laser pattern it creates during its attack actually includes Terra's emblem, which we find all around architecture, which is associated with Terra. So there's absolutely no doubt that Ark came from Terra. So is it possible that OZMA is a long-forgotten Eidolon which existed in Terra? Perhaps the Eidolon cave we find it in used to exist on Terra, and it became one of the locations that were embedded on Gaia during the failed fusion attempt by Garland. Maybe that's why we had trouble reaching it before we got help from the spirits of Gaia. Their spiritual power brought OZMA closer to this world, making it less otherworldly. The spiritual power provided a tether to link Gaia to OZMA better. Now, we have to keep in mind that after Terra's crystal grew weak, it was unable to produce eidolons. This is known information when it comes to this game's lore. But when Terra's crystal used to be strong, it must have been able to produce eidolons too, right? Maybe after it grew weak, the eidolons disappeared, and the myths and stories surrounding them eventually vanished as well. And I mean, the people of Terra disappeared altogether anyway. To be fair, we are making some assumptions here, but I think we would have to with any theory. But it does make logical sense, doesn't it? So there is a reasonable amount of evidence to suggest that OZMA is a long-lost Terran eidolon. But it's not a perfect theory though. Why do we get the pumice for beating OZMA? Assuming it is an eidolon, why would it be holding the item for a completely different eidolon? It's even holding a pumice piece, which can be stolen from it. It just feels like it's tied to Ark for some reason. No other eidolons in this game are tied to each other like this. Also, why would a long-forgotten eidolon be connected in this manner to one that still retains its form? Well, what if OZMA is not an eidolon at all? And that brings us to our next theory. Have you ever seen the concept art for OZMA? It's pretty interesting. There are a bunch of notes here regarding what OZMA is supposed to look like and everything. Check out the name though. The way it's written here is kinda strange, isn't it? Almost like it's supposed to be an abbreviation of something, like RAM or LAN or CPU. Maybe that's nothing. But I do want to show you something that might not be nothing. Let's consider for a moment that OZMA isn't formless, that this is OZMA's true form. It is pretty weird though, I think we can all agree. But what if I told you that there is a boss in a different Final Fantasy game that bears a remarkable resemblance to OZMA? Check this out. Well now, that does look a lot like the round guy, doesn't it? Sure, it may not have the bizarre swirly colors, but it even rotates in a similar way to OZMA's neutral stance. This is the CPU boss from Final Fantasy IV. In that game, it's the controlling mechanism of the Giant of Babel, a massive machine that was created to destroy the human race. It is a very significant entity in the game, but more importantly, it is a machine, and when we confront it, it does try to destroy us. It seems like there's some kind of AI working in there. In a way, it was kinda acting like it had an automated defense system protecting the Giant of Babel. But it's not a living creature, and it's not sentient. It's simply following directives of its programming. What if OZMA is something similar? Specifically, an automated defense system whose directive forces it to protect something important. What if OZMA is simply protecting pumice, the item which enables access to Ark? Sounds intriguing, right? Let's dig deeper. When we were in Oivir, how did the battle against the Ark there begin? It didn't bother us while we were moving around, interacting with all the other stuff in there. It didn't do anything while we were interacting with the masks in the chamber. So it's not like it's actively hunting us or defending the entirety of the place from us. No, it activates and becomes hostile when we try to get too close to the Guluk Stone. As soon as we try to get close and examine the Guluk Stone, Ark attacks. Here, the Ark is acting like a defense system, one that is protecting the Guluk Stone. This stone is a valuable item in the story, and obviously the Terran people did not want it to fall into the wrong hands. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it seems evident that the Terran people did make use of defense systems to protect important things. Also, on a side note, Terra's Chronicles, which is a collection of official lore regarding Terra, describes the Guluk Stone as a magic controlling device, but the technology is completely out of this world. Or one could say it's otherworldly. Don't we know about something else that fits that term too? But let's talk a bit more about the Ark itself. The one we face as a boss and the one we get as an eidolon from the pumice have the same name. The game does not differentiate between them as such. But the one we summon behaves quite differently though. It transforms into a super mecha robo. The one from the boss battle never does anything like that. So that makes me wonder, Is the one hiding within Oivier really the exact same thing as the Ark we find later as an Eidolon? In my opinion, it is not. I think that the original Ark was a super destructive Eidolon that existed long ago on Terra, but it was sealed away because it was uncontrollable. The Ark that we see in Oivier was based on the Eidolon Ark from their history. That's why it's not capable of transforming. It was simply created in its image. Considering how obsessed with technology the Terran people did go on to become, an ancient, massive, transforming robot ship would probably be like a god to them. And I mean, we do know of another Eidolon that was sealed away because it caused undue, uncontrollable destruction when it was summoned. Alexander actually feels like Gaia's counterpart to Terra's Ark in many ways. Alexander is a winged fortress on the ground, while Ark attacks from the sky. Alexander is of the holy element, apparently, while Ark's main attack is called Eternal Darkness, which is a shadow elemental attack. Alexander was sealed away, and its jewel was broken into different pieces. Perhaps Ark was sealed away as well, except that the ancient people of Terra decided to use a defense system to protect it. OZMA is that defense system. Yes, Terra's crystal became incapable of producing Eidolons eventually, but maybe they sealed Ark away in the Eidolon cave before that happened, and never tried to mess with it again. When did the Ark activate in Oivier? When we tried to examine the item it was designed to protect. And what do we do in the Chocobo Air Garden that initiates the battle against OZMA? We try to examine the Eidolon cave. Now, that does leave one question as far as I'm concerned. After we get the Pumice, Dagger can learn Ark from it and summon it on Gaia, a planet which Ark did not originate from, a planet whose people would have no memories whatsoever of this entity. So how does the Crystal of Gaia know what Ark is supposed to look like, and what it even is? How does Gaia's crystal manifest Ark as an Eidolon? Well, there is an answer to that too. We kinda have to talk about Garland's overall plan first. After the souls of the people of Terra went into stasis, Garland's plan was to interrupt the cycle of souls on Gaia. He tried to do this by using the Lifa tree, which acts like a gigantic soul filter. The souls of the people of Gaia were stopped from going back to the crystal, and they were replaced by the Terran souls who were in stasis. As the Terran souls enter the crystal, they become part of the soul cycle, so their memories and experiences are being carried into the crystal. By the time the game begins, this soul filtering process has already been going on for a long time, like for over 1,000 years, meaning the souls of Terran people were already a part of the soul cycle for a very long time. What if the crystal took their memories, their beliefs and stories, and used them to express Ark? Well, that's what the crystal does, right? It takes the memories and experiences of souls, using them as inspiration to determine the physical form of Eidolons. So even if the original Ark disappeared, after Terra's crystal weakened, the memories of the Terran people were still able to provide Gaia's crystal with all the information it needed. And it's obvious they knew how Ark looked. I mean, they designed an airship after its image after all. And I do think that the Pumice must have been known in Terran culture to be the item that unlocks or awakens Ark. By the way, did you know that the Japanese name for Pumice is Floating Stone? There is an item in Final Fantasy I, which is also known as the Floating Stone in some translations. What does that item do? It raises a long-lost ancient airship lying beneath the desert. And what is Ark's primary form? You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not saying that Final Fantasy I and 9 are connected or anything. It just seems like the Pumice, or Floating Stone, has been used previously for similar purposes. So even if the original Ark was gone, Gaia's crystal knew exactly where the Ark Eidolon would go from the Terran memories. In any case, OZMA continued to protect the item it was meant to protect. As long as we stay away from the cave, OZMA's automated defense mechanism does not activate. But as soon as we try to examine objects that the Terran people wanted to protect, their left behind defense systems will activate and follow their innate directives. But to be fair, there are some issues with this theory as well. If OZMA is protecting the Pumice, why is it also holding a Pumice piece? On that note, there are two other Pumice pieces that can be acquired in the game, one from the Ark in Oivier, and one from the Chocobo Hot and Cold side quest. Technically, it is possible to acquire a whole pumice without messing with OZMA if we find the other two pieces. But we would need to beat Hades, another optional super boss, who would then allow us to fuse them together. Interestingly enough, Hades appears to know about OZMA and becomes shocked upon learning that you defeated it if you talk to Hades after beating OZMA. But even Hades probably did not know about OZMA's true nature, just that it's a super strong entity. It could be that the other pumice pieces serve as a gameplay function only, to allow players access to Ark without putting in the effort required to beat OZMA. Or maybe there were other whole pumices before, which could raise the Ark Eidolon on Terra, but they were all destroyed, except one which is protected by OZMA. It can also be possible that the pumice pieces have the ability to provide great power, so the people of Terra used the pieces to power their defense systems like the Ark in Oivier, always making sure to only use the pieces and never the full pumice. And we can't even fuse them normally. We need the power of a demigod to do it. I personally like this idea. The one we find as a treasure in the Hot and Cold side quest could have randomly ended up there during the failed fusion attempt by Garland. But if OZMA is a mechanical entity, why did we need the spiritual power from the spirits of Gaia? Then again, it's not like the power does a lot. We can harm OZMA with other attacks, even if we completely ignore the quest. So the reach they provide doesn't matter all that much. Maybe it was a last-minute addition to the game, simply designed to make OZMA easier, and nothing more. Maybe OZMA is a mix of tech and magic in some way, some sort of fusion in itself perhaps. We do know that the people on Terra were working with fusion, a powerful skill which does not exist on Gaia. I would even say that fusion would be considered otherworldly here. So is OZMA a long-lost Eidolon, or is it some sort of fusion of magic and tech, acting as an automated defense system, engineered to safeguard a terrifying entity, to keep it from getting into malicious hands? At the end of the day, I suppose you can decide for yourself. Well, neither theory is perfect, in my opinion. Personally, I'm gonna lean towards the second one. The puzzle pieces fit cleaner to me. But if you're a fan of the OZMA is a lost Eidolon theory, then there's no problem with that either. Which theory do you prefer? Or do you have a special third theory that you personally believe in? Did I miss some important information that should have been included in this video? Do let me know everything in the comments. Allow me to leave you with one last fun fact. In Mobius Final Fantasy, a now defunct mobile game, Ark could be obtained as a card. Its description read, a mechanical entity fusing magic and technology, once sealed beyond time-space by a heavenly pact. Fusion of magic and technology. And it was sealed, huh? Well, I wonder if the item it was sealed within was guarded by some kind of otherworldly defense system. One brought to life by a similar kind of fusion, perhaps? What do I know? I think I'll just go catch some frogs. See you all next time.